Hello there. Well, apparently today was the Crunchyroll Awards and I missed them because I was at the beach. Did I care about losing them? Not that much, but I still want to make a review about the actual winners. I made my opinion shared in another video when they were announced. Yet I want to make another small, video reacting to everything of what it won. So here we go. I have not seen anything as far as I'm concerned, I think. So yeah, let's move it. View winners. The first one is My Hero. I'm gonna, just not talk about the anime of the year until the end because I think that that is more interesting. So there's a lot of categories regardless. So we are gonna go for that. Same thing with the movies. I'm not gonna mention the movies yet because I put them as very similar to each other. Best continuing series, One Piece. I honestly think that this might have been deserving. I already stated that I haven't seen the anime of One Piece. I read the manga, but I know that this part of the series is very good. So I can understand it, and the other rivals are not particularly great, with one exception being the final season of My Hero, but I think this is fair. Next, we have the winner of Best New Series. I already stated it. Gachiakuta does not deserve to be here at all. Like, it might deserve to be as a mention, as a nominee. There's no war in which Gachiakuta is even remotely close to the quality of basically any of the other shows. Like, the bottom row is so clearly better. I have to put this. Gachiakuta does not deserve to be here at all. Sakamoto Days, I can argue that might be at the same level, but the copy's original scene, the Kauruhana, and Summer Hikaru Died are clearly better. Clearly better. And I think that is very obvious. Like, I think that is very, very obvious that this was the anime that they wanted to portray like the new big thing. Kinda like Solo Leveling was last year, where they gave them the anime of the year. Now, I think that in this case it's even more egregious and more annoying at that. Of course, it didn't win anime of the year, which might save it a little bit, but come on. At least Solo Leveling was really that popular. Gachiakuta doesn't even have the popularity. And as I'm saying, like, all of those names, like, look at that, dude. They are so clearly better. We are talking about potentially a masterpiece, a fantastic experience. Gachiakuta. Like, Gachiakuta is closer to not even deserving the nomination that it is to actually winning the best new series. That is the quality. So I don't get it. Next, best original anime. I stated it in the other one. I have not seen any of these. If I have seen, probably would have gone for GQs because I am a huge Gundam guy. The few things that I have seen of Gundam, I actually adore them. And yeah, I'm talking off my ass because this does not make sense what I'm saying of, oh, if I have seen shows that I haven't seen, I would have voted for one. Also, I didn't notice that this is from Adult Swim. That might not, that doesn't sound that good, right? Yeah, that sounds dramatic. Best animation, Solo Leveling Season 2, Arise from Shadow. I said it in my other video. I think that this is the right choice. This is the undisputable right choice out of the ones that they put. My issue was that they didn't even nominate it Cinderella Grey, which would have easily be a top 2 at the worst. Because Cinderella Grey has by far a much better animation than 5 of the 6 shows. And the only one that has an argument to being better is Solo Leveling. I still believe that Solo Leveling would have won, and I would have still potentially voted for Solo Leveling for animation, but Cinderella Grey not being here is just a clear thing of Crunchyroll using their own awards to try to portray an image of anime that is not the actual reality. Next, we go for the best character design that went for Gachiakuta. I agree with this one. I think that the character design is very subjective overall, but I really like the one from Gachiakuta. It's very, unique. It's something that we have not seen in a long time in anime. Uh, Animation like this that looks good and with that uniqueness of the characters. I think that is very, very cool. And as such, out of all of the awards that Gachiakuta might have won, which I don't know if they won anything else, but this one is the one that I think that is deserving clearly. Next, we go for the best director, which went for Akinori Fusaka and Norihiro Naganuma for the second season of Apothecary Diaries. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I do not know exactly what the director does. I think that the cinematography overall of Apothecary Diaries deserves those honors, but I don't know if that is exactly the whole thing. As I say, I know that the directors do a whole bunch of different things, like the art style, like the direction, but I don't know the full extent of it. I think that this is a great one, and I think that probably deserving, but as I'm saying, I'm not an expert for me to say that director deserves something or another thing. Next, we go for the best background art, Gachiakuta. Once again, I think that this might be deserving, but like, come on. No, nobody fully cares about background art. That it might be one of the most niche things that you can have in anime. And as such, I think that they kinda just put it just because. They said, yeah, give it to Gachiakuta. Let's make it more noticeable. Because this show, nobody fully cared about it when we were announcing it. So we have to announce it even more. And as such, I don't know. I don't pay attention to a background art. Might be deserving. I don't know. CTD animation was absolutely outstanding in that regard. That is like the whole thing of CTD animation. And Apothecary Diaries as well, so I genuinely don't know. Next, we go for what is best romance, Karuhana. There's no debate like here. It's very obvious if you have seen it. Like, Karuhana is easily one of the best romances of the 2020s, period. Alongside, the late seasons of Kaguya-sama, maybe the last season of Fruit Basket came out in 2021, maybe. I am not certain right now. And with things like Bokuyaba. Like, they are easily above everything else. And the fact that this season had basically, this year had basically nothing else, like nothing particularly close. Like, look at this. They put Dandadan as a romance. So, you know that this was an easy route for this one. So, yeah, Kaoruhan is great. Next, we go for Best Comedy, Dandadan, second season. I'm gonna say it. I don't think that Dandadan is the best comedy here. I think that My Dress Up Darling has a better pure comedy sense, in my opinion. The thing is that I do remember something that is gonna come very soon, which is the Isekai, and I'm gonna wait for that to mention the whole thing of the comedy. I think it might be even the next one. No. Okay, best action goes to Solo Leveling. Once again, in my opinion, Solo Leveling should not be nominated for anything that is a award that rewards something related with a good story. And action has to have something related with story, even if they do not want to put it like that. I don't think that something like Solo Leveling should even be nominated. I believe that the last year nomination was a stretch, and that was a weak year, by the way, in everything else. But this year, that there is actually solid, actual shows, is just insulting that they don't give it to My Hero, One Piece, Basically those two. Even to a lesser extent Dandadan, although I think that in the pure action once again might not be. Dandadan is weird because Dandadan doesn't have the whole thing of being an actual anything fully. It is an action, but you have a lot of the comedy, you have the romance, you have a slice of life, you have mystery, you have supernatural. It's so weird to evaluate Dandan as an individual genre. That is basically impossible. As I'm saying, I think that Solo Leveling should have not even been nominated. Like, they already won last year under the false assumption of people believing that the whole award was won based on the 2 seasons, yet they put it again, and it's not even deserving, so I'm really annoyed at that. Now we go for the best isekai, and here's where my issue goes. Okay, I'm gonna talk about this later, but how did Konosuba was not even nominated to the best comedy? Konosuba is easily funnier than everything that was nominated there. In fact, it's a pure comedy. How does a not pure comedy win over Konosuba? I genuinely don't know. It is baffling. And that's why I hate the comedy part of things. Dandana might have been deserving, not even with the nominees, but even especially considering that Konosuba is here, is completely insulting. Now, for the best isekai, I don't have a lot of things to say. I think that Berserk is deserving. I think that most people would agree with that. Maybe someone wants to be different and say Konosuba. That is still, acceptable. But overall, I think that it's very obvious that it was Re:Zero. Best drama, Apothecary Diaries. Once again, I think that it's not surprising that it wins. I think that it should have been for Orb. I think that Orb was better, at least personally. And I think that Orb would have or should have 100% be at least nominated to the Anime of the Year. But whatever. It's not an insulting win, but I think that Orb deserved it more. And I'm surprised that Takopi has yet to win anything. Like, Takopi was such a groundbreaking anime when it came out that is kind of weird, actually. That is not anywhere. Anyways. Next, best slice of life, Spy X Family. I think that I mentioned that I barely ever saw any of these. Like, the thing with slice of life as a genre is that you will have very difficult ways to evaluate and compare with others. Like, yeah, Dress Up Darling is here, but Dress Up Darling is more of a romance and a comedy. It's a rom-com. The fact that it's also slice of life is just a small extra. Kaoru Hana is a pure romance. The fact that it kinda has slice of life is an extra. So you quite literally have like 2, 3 of these that actually are pure slice of lives, which are Spy X Family, CD, the animation, and I have no idea what Ancherly is. Blue Box is also kind of a romance, if I'm not mistaken. I have not seen it, sorry. But like it feels kind of pointless, you know what I mean? It feels weird to put slice of life. Now we have best main character, which Mao, I think that this is the one surprising winner. Why? Because we already saw who won the Anime of the Year. And I'm surprised that knowing how the Crunchyroll awards work, this was not just Midoriya or Sonyewu. Like, they are so clearly the characters that usually win this type of stuff that is very weird that there is one award that can be won by something that is a shonen and is not won by it. I'm not complaining. I think that this is logical. Once again, I think that they should have at least nominated something from Cinderella Grey, but I think that Mao is well deserving to be here. I think that she was probably the best character of the year when we are considering purely the anime that came out. So, yeah. Next, we go for the best supporting character, which was Bakugo. You see, this is what I was expecting for the other one. Like, Midoriya probably was the more likely winner because, you know, it's Bakugo here. Like, I wouldn't have voted for him in a million years. Now, I think that this one is more understandable. Not only Bakugo is more popular than Midoriya, sorry, and more popular than Son Yu-woo, but it's also that the rivalries and the competition is way weaker. Now, I still wouldn't have voted for him. I think that there's like a dozen different characters that should have been over him, but I still can understand it and kind of accept it. Now we have the most protected at all cost character, which is Anya, and this is just a pointless, you know, award. It's an award that is basically there to give it to Anya, literally. And even then, like, if you want to give it to anyone else, it's just your own opinion. Would I give it to Anya? I guess I could have give it to anyone else and it would feel alright, you know? I think that it's just pointless. Like, why do we have a character that is must protect at all cost? I have not seen things like sci-fi or mechas, which are way more instrumental to the history of anime than must protect at all cost character. Yeah, we have this. Whatever. Next, we go for the best anime song. It is out. I think that this is, you know, nothing to say here. Reawaker, okay, you could have made an argument for Reawaker, but yeah, it's the Iris Out. It's Iris Out. Like, it was the best, easily. Next, we go for the best score, which was the Kimetsu no Yaiba Infinity Castle movie. No, it wasn't. Once again, like, how does Demon Slayer win this one? When even within the very popular ones, was not even close to being the best. Chainsaw Man had a way better score, period. And now that I watched Chainsaw Man for the second time like a week ago, or less than a week ago, I can emphasize how much better it is. Infinity Castle was a okay score. Above average score. Chainsaw Man was amazing at every level. Hell, I would have been mad if they gave it to Solo Leveling. Despite all of what I just said about Solo Leveling like 5 minutes, 10 minutes ago, Solo Leveling is way more deserving of best score than Demon Slayer. How the hell did it won? I do not know. Like, I'm baffled. This is concerning, and this is the reason to why we should hate the Crunchyroll Anime Awards, because they give things that make no sense, and people does not know how to properly evaluate stuff. Whatever. Next. The best opening sequence on the way of Dan Dan Dan, it was for Mirage in my opinion. Now, the openings are way more subjective. I still believe that at least Alexandros and Cinderella Grey should have been nominated, but once again, this is extremely subjective, and as such, I'm not gonna spend a lot of time here. I would have gave it to Mirage, and that's about it. Next, the best ending. I forgot about the endings, so sorry. I'm not even gonna try to say anything. I'm sorry, I don't remember. Next, best boy acting performance in Japanese. Aoi Yuki. Okay, I will only be able to mention Japanese. I know that these had like a dozen different ones because of every individual language. I have not seen any of them. I only watch anime in Japanese. And even if that sounds weird, like, deal with it. Like, I'm not gonna watch something in Arabic or something like that. So yeah, Aoi Yuki. I think that it's fine. I would have gave it personally to, you know, Rese, because I'm more of a fan of that voice acting, but none of these feel wrong. You know what I mean? All of these feel logical at the very least. All of them feel like they were the right choice in their own respective ways. And the fact that it's won by one show, and one show actually that is not a shonen, something that I have been saying that I dislike a lot, I like it. I like that they gave it to different things. I love that they gave it to something like Apothecary Diaries. And, you know, even though I would have liked it more, another one, I'm not mad at all. Actually, I quite like it. And now we have to go for the big ones, I think. Yeah, because everything else is just best voice acting. Okay. Film of the year. Film of the year is not Demon Slayer. I understand that Demon Slayer is the more popular one. I understand that. I understand that more people were gonna be voting at here as a popular vote. I totally understand that. This is not a better movie than Chainsaw Man the movie. This is not a better movie than 100 meters. This is not a better movie in basically any possible regard. 100 meters has a story that completely demolishes everything what Demon Slayer tries to accomplish, and Chainsaw Man combines the story and the animation and makes an overall way better experience. In fact, I even said, I believe, when they were nominated, that I knew that Demon Slayer were gonna win because, of course, but I actually remember that I mentioned that at least the focus of the story, which is half of the story of Akasa, is actually worse than in the manga, which is concerning because you're actually giving it to a worse story. And I do not know how can you do that. And I completely hate it. Once again, I understand that this is a Crunchyroll Awards and they cannot, under any circumstance, be taken seriously because that would make people mad, like how I am right now. But come on, give the awards in the right way. Try to dissimulate a little bit that you are biased in favor of certain shows. Anyways, we have to go now for the last one, which is Anime of the Year, My Hero Final Season. Once again, I mentioned this earlier. I mentioned this in the original video. Gachiakuta being even nominated is an insult to everything of what a good anime should be. And I'm not even saying that Gachiakuta is not a good anime. Is that it's just a regular good and that's it type of anime being nominated for Anime of the Year. Like, if you tell me that Gachiakuta is the 6th best anime at worst, because it might be top 5, if you tell me that Gachiakuta is within the top 10 of the best animes in an individual year, then that is the by far worst year in the history of anime. It's just the way that it is. And as I'm saying, I'm not a hater of Gachiakuta, but it's insulting that it's even here. Especially when we have seen that there were several other better shows that were left aside, like Cinderella Grey, like Orb, and Kaoru Hana, that none of them were nominated in this Anime of the Year, and one of them was not even nominated to anything. So yeah. The other ones. Out of all of these, now that I mention it, I knew that My Hero was gonna win. The second that it was nominated was obvious. They were putting My Hero against shows that are great and potentially deserving of the Anime of the Year, but none of them are shonens. And this is what all falls into. Crunchyroll just makes awards to give it to shonens. They have done it in basically every single year since the pandemic started. That was the decline of the actual objectively trying to give the Anime of the Year to the best anime. Prior to that, they might have missed, but they at least tried to be objective and at least tried to give variety. From 2019 onwards, there have been one show that was not a shonen that was a winner of the Anime of the Year, and was a seinen that was also an action-based seinen. So, whatever, it was obvious that My Hero was gonna win. It was not better than Orb. It was not better than Apothecary Diaries. It's unlikely to be better than Takopi's original Sin. It was potentially at the same level or maybe even lower than The Summer Hikaru Died. It was not the best anime of the year, but the second that you saw the nominations and you saw that there was one anime like My Hero, you knew damn well that it was gonna win. Am I mad because of that? Honestly, no. Like, it's not deserving, but at the end of the day, it's the Crunchyroll Awards. If you take them seriously, you are the one to blame. These are not serious awards, even if they want to sell them like that. These are awards made for children and young teenagers, the people that actually engage in this type of content, the people that actually trust these type of awards. And it's a shame because these ones are the ones that have the most amount of notoriety in the West, and as such, the people, the young people that wants to actually watch anime are gonna be downgrading their own potential experiences by taking this seriously, but that's how it is. And after all of that, well, I have nothing else to say. I hope that you enjoyed it, and see you next time. Bye bye.